For a couple of reasons I haven't unpacked this tool already. Number one, I wanted to show that it does not come with a sheath. It comes as you see, but I also wanted to once again show people like maybe a safer way to open packages. Now I've seen people do unboxings on YouTube, quite a few of them, and some of the near misses I see with a knife are a little terrifying, at least to me. So just a reminder, now most people will already know this, but when you have a package like this one where it's two layers essentially, right, where you have a back, you can actually, instead of going sideways, which is what I see a lot of people do, you can actually press straight down into the package in the back. And by doing that, you're not going to have to be afraid of it accidentally, slipping through and cutting you. So by doing that, we don't have enough problem and we can just pull it right out. And at no point did it even go through and hurt this leather surface. So just something to keep in mind. So this is the Swiss Tool MX clip. So let's start with the weight, shall we? All right, let's first just get the weight of the MX clip. That's going to be 7 5/8 ounces compared to the Leatherman Signal, which is basically the same thing. The Free P2, which is exactly the same weight. The Leatherman Curl, which is just about 7 ounces, so about half an ounce lighter. And then, of course, the original Spirit X, but with a Night Eyes clip. So basically the same weight. And just for your record, guys, this clip is discontinued, but you can still get the Night Eyes hip clips, and they look just like this. So you can attach one of these directly to a Victorinox tool that you already have. So the clip, I mean, it's a nice thing that Victorinox offer one, but the truth is that's not really the big deal here. The big deal here is that one-handed blade. So just keep that in mind. And these are also cheaper than the $20 additional clip that comes with the Victorinox. All right, let's actually start with going ahead and flipping around this clip, because if you notice, it's actually kind of on the wrong side. If I have this in my pocket this way, I need the clip to be on the opposite side. And what you can do is actually unscrew this small screw right there, and you can actually install it in the corkscrew section on the opposite side. That's what we're going to do next. Of course, just like anything, it's never simple. And I realized because of how narrow this actually is, you can't just use a T15 bit directly in this in like a normal bit driver, because it's so narrow. Most of these are not going to fit. So you have to either use a precision driver like this one, but I could not find anything other than my T20 and smaller, or you have to get creative, and that's what we're going to have to do today. So T15 goes in there, and I'm going to use the hex hole in my Leatherman Signal because that does not go in very far, and I'm actually able to loosen it enough that then I can get in there by hand and take it out from there. So there you go. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So what we have here, and one of the things I wanted to do was take a look at this screw real up close and personal, because I have a feeling, yeah, I think this is either an M2.5 or an M2. Because I read some reviews where this screw snapped on them, and that would be a really big problem if you couldn't replace it. So I don't have the time right now. I can't figure out where all of my screw sets. Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. You know what? I forgot. I reorganized things. So I do in fact have my screw sets. So here is the M2 set, the number 4, which I don't think we're going to use, and the M2.5. So let's just see. I just want to see if the threading on this works with the M2.5, because that is my guess that this is. So it would go through here. So make sure we're threading it properly. And my guess is correct. Perfect fit for M2.5. So in case anyone was wondering how to fix or to replace said screw, well, as long as the screw piece is not broken off inside, you should be able to replace it with an M2.5 screw. Good enough. Good enough for me. All right, well that's an option. So you guys don't have to try to get it from Victorinox if needed. And you can always use a in the 2.5 sets, they always come with washers, so you can use that to kind of put in between. All right. So now I got to figure out which side I want to be on. So if I'm going like this, then I need it to be attached like so. So this is the Phillips side, same side as the blade, same side as the blade. So let's go ahead and attach that. And it just kind of sets in just like so. And I'm going to guess this is going to be a little fiddly. All right. See if I can do this one-handed. That's just, that was just luck, by the way. That should not be as easy as it was without having to attach anything. But as you can see, we're now in mostly tight, and I'm not going to overdo it too much. We'll tighten it a little bit. That's about as good as I want to go. I don't want to over tighten it too much. Yeah, there you go. So now it should be on the right, on the correct side. So it goes down in my pocket on my right side, and then it is tip up, ready to rock and roll. Now we'll continue with the review. All right, now you may have noticed that this is kind of a new day. All right, I've had this for a little while, and I've been able to collect my thoughts on it, and I think I have a better understanding of what to say at this point. We're going to start by going through the tool set, and as I do it, I'm going to show you the problems that I'm having with it. Some are good, some things that I've discovered are good, and some things are not so good. So we'll start with the very first thing, the big claim to fame here, and this is the one-handed blade. Not only is this a great size, not only is it a very easy to open blade, your fingers never go in front of the cutting path while you're closing it. And I love that. I think this is a huge, huge, huge upgrade, especially when you consider the fact that this blade is identical in length to the original blade. Okay? So same blade length, but now one-handed capability. It's big deal on this. And I really do like the improvement. Now the can opener obviously is the same as you will find in pretty much every Victorinox out there. It is a fantastic can opener, absolutely fantastic. It's probably the best of all the can openers out there. And on top of that, it has a flathead and two-dimensional Phillips. This is also a two-dimensional Phillips, just by the, something you should know. Now, the next tool is where you're going to start seeing the problems. We have a three-dimensional Phillips. Now, the tool itself is actually quite excellent. It's a very long, very stout Phillips, capable of getting into holes that are very recessed. So as a dedicated implement, this is quite a bit better than many of the multi-tools out there. The problem with this is its deployment. Many of the tools in this, and also was true with the original as well, were very, very, very difficult to deploy. In fact, in mine, it was so bad when I first got it, I had to decide whether I was going to turn it or not, and decided instead to modify it so that it is actually able to open quite a bit easier. And now it works great. But in doing so, I avoided my warranty. I have yet to decide whether I'm going to do it with this one, but I'm leaning towards the answer being yes. And I will actually film that when I eventually get to it. But it's bad enough that I don't want to be fiddling with my tool and be unable to open it and get access to what I need because, say, I've been in the water or it's raining and my nails are actually softer and therefore I can't open the tool. That's unacceptable to me. So the Phillips is a beautiful tool. It works really well, very, very strong. It's going to stay in good shape for a long time and usually does. The problem is it's hard to get access to. Now that's sort of true also for the flathead, not quite as bad, but if you're trying to get it with just your nail, you may have trouble because, as you can see, it's strong enough of a retention that you have to kind of get a nice flat angle to get it open. And sometimes I honestly can't without bending my nail back. So it's not ideal. And the scissors are actually worse. The only thing I've been able to do is if I can get it with my finger about this far, I can actually reach in and get under it and then pull it out from there. That's pretty much the best I can do because using my nail wasn't working. And if your fingers are bigger than mine, you probably can't get your finger in there to pull it out. So that once again, the spring retention on this is incredibly high. Now on the other side, the file is once again easy because you have the texturing and you don't even need to worry about the cutout. You just grab a little bit of that texturing with your finger and it's coming right out. The reamer, is this the reamer or an awl? Yeah, the reamer, which is not an awl, by the way, is wonderful and very easy to get out. Very, very sharp. It's going to make great holes. Yeah, awesome. The flathead, the large flathead, isn't too bad to get out either. And what I've always liked about this tool is this is genuinely a prying tool. Like, this isn't much weaker than any of the prying tools out there. This thing is monstrous and is very much, I'm sure, why they base the very thick, stout prying tool from the Free series as well. Both of these are very, very, very tough, very, very stout, and you can definitely do some work with them. Whether it's unscrewing a very large fastener or tightening one or even prying with it, they're both going to hold up really, really well. Now, moving on, we have the combination tool, which isn't too difficult to get out. Not too bad. Not too bad. It's just like the flathead, but maybe a little bit easier, at least on mine. And then we have the saw. And once again, the only way I've been able to get access to it is to get my finger inside and pinch it and pull it out. Because if I try to use a nail, it's just far too difficult to pull out with just a nail. It's just too strong. So out of the, 5 on this side and 5 on this side, out of the 10 tools, there's about 4 or 5 of them that are really difficult to get open. The rest are okay. And then of course we have the pliers. And like normal, these come fantastic right out of the box. Really smooth, easy to use. And the cool thing about the Victorinox Spirit is there is no there's no pinch going to be happening with these. They're incredibly comfortable. In fact, I honestly believe these to be more comfortable than the Leatherman Wave while using the pliers. They really are quite nice. The curvature is just perfect, and it really does help. Now, they are going to be blunter as far as the tip is concerned. The Leatherman Wave and the rebar and all of those, they come to a slightly finer point, and that's a give and take, right? This is going to be better when you actually have to twist, but this is going to allow you to get into smaller spaces and to grab things, more precisely. So it's a give, like I said, it's a give and take, and they don't have replaceable cutters, but they have held up pretty well. The cutting aspect, the wire cutting aspect, is probably the last thing on this tool. It's really not something you want to rely on as a dedicated cutter, right? It's a EDC tool. Which kind of brings me to the conclusion here. This is $160. I think I got mine for $149 or something like that from DLT Trading. I'll put a link to that because it is a little cheaper. But the truth is, even with inflation prices, I think it's a little high. considering that they haven't fixed the fundamental problems of deployment, which were present also in the the Spirit X. Okay, the same problems are still present, and at the same price, basically $150, you could purchase a Leatherman Free P4. And in the context of an all-in-one without additional implements, this probably isn't going to beat the Leatherman Free P4, in my opinion. It's just not. In fact, the tool sets are quite similar, and the P4 actually has better scissors on it, while being completely one-handable without, even having to worry about deployment. It has replaceable cutters, and there's just more going on with the Leatherman Free P4. And I know it's weird. I feel like at this point I have to put that Free P4 back together, because this is good, no question. But do I think that it's worth getting this version over the Leatherman Free P4? I don't know. Both are kind of expensive. I mean, I think you have to know that you want them one way or another. It's not exactly a starter tool. It's just too expensive for that, is what it comes down to. And it kind of annoys me that on their website, the version they sell that doesn't have the clip is exactly the same price as the one with the clip. Like, shouldn't it be $20 cheaper at the very least? Like, for me personally, I would buy the one without the clip, because I know I can get a inexpensive clip that I can attach to and works just fine. That's just me personally. I think it's a very, very high quality piece. There is no question that it will service for a whole lifetime. Victorinox is just impeccable when it comes to their quality. Nothing, not even the Leatherman can touch it. But the deployment is a killer for me. If I ever need to get access to something quickly, I'm going to struggle. Now, the good part here, though, is that the one tool that I'm likely to need quickly is easy to access. So maybe that one thing can overcome the negatives. So only, you're going to know whether the